I've said this a few times for some of the guys that we re-signed during the season that we like. Because I think Jim Benning is so good when it comes to contract negotiations for the players that we actually like that this Edler signing is actually perfect. Seriously. For the guys like Horvat, for the guys like Berchi, Hutton, and now Edler, the guys that we like get really solid contracts. Say what you want about the Sutters and the Goodbransons, but typically speaking, the guys that we like having on the team and the guys that we want are usually signed to very good deals. Now this Edler deal is absolutely perfect. And in order to understand why it's actually perfect, let's go over a few things first. First off, the contract. Second off, the context. Third off, the dispute. Fourth off, the conclusion. So let's go over the first thing right here. What is the contract? It is a 2-year, $12 million contract. So $6 million per year for 2 years, including a full no-trade clause. So that's the contract. What do I think of that? Hey, it's great. It's very, very great. First off, the dollar amount, yeah, no, screw that. That doesn't matter. We're the Canucks. We have cap space, and it's only for 2 years, so a 2-year contract like this at $6 million per certainly isn't all too bad at all. It's the same money that Eriksson is getting. Okay, I don't want to put you in a bad mood, so let's go over to the context of this contract. Well, everything relied on Seattle. The expansion draft is going to happen in 2 years, in 2021, so by the time September rolls around in 2021, Seattle has a team and they're in the league full time. And Edler wanted security from that. The big thing here was expansion draft safety and protection. That's something that Edler wanted, but it's something that Jim Benning didn't want to give out because contract spots are very important when it comes to these expansion drafts. Seriously, this is bleeding into number 3, the dispute. It's been made very public that Edler likes Vancouver and that he wants to stay here, which is why the security that he wanted entailed a protection spot and a guarantee that he would stay with Vancouver full time. Now, let's go over to number 4, the conclusion. Because I think if you're taking a look at it, both sides here, they got exactly what they wanted. The Vancouver Canucks did not want to save up a protection spot for Edler, and Edler wanted to stay in Vancouver. But this deal is so perfect that it actually gives them both the options to do that. First off, yes, Edler will be a UFA come the Seattle expansion draft, and what that means is that the Vancouver Canucks have the option to protect him for the draft if they want to, but they don't need to. UFA players also do not fulfill the 40-70 rule, which requires teams to leave at least 1 defenseman and 2 forwards unprotected who have played 40 games in the prior season or 70 in the past 2 years. These contracts, if Seattle takes them, also do not count towards the 60% salary cap requirement. Furthermore, the new team, in this case it says Vegas because this is an article from sinbin.vegas, which covers UFAs, and it's contextual for the Seattle team as well. The Seattle team in 2021 will have an opportunity to sit down with Edler and talk to him in the middle of June. Normally that would be considered tampering, but in this context it is not because it's a new team and they have the right to talk to people. If an agreement is reached, then Seattle officially takes Edler from the Vancouver Canucks with their expansion draft pick. However, if Edler really wants to stay in Vancouver, he doesn't need to agree. It's like the RFA thing. If the player doesn't want it, if the player doesn't sign, then it's not happening. Edler has the power here, and because Edler has said his loyalty to the Vancouver Canucks, let's assume that he wants to stay in Vancouver by the time he is 35, which this contract takes him until he is. If Edler wanted to stay in Vancouver, the Canucks wouldn't necessarily need to save a spot on the protection list for him. Because if he gave his verbal consent to the Canucks and said, hey, no matter what happens, in the expansion draft or otherwise, I will become a Canuck next season. If he says that, then the Canucks don't need to use a protection spot on him because no matter what happens, he is a UFA, and he will have the chance to re-sign in the offseason. So this is ultimately perfect. First off, it gives Edler the security that he can stay in Vancouver post-expansion draft. Second off, there's no expansion draft protection spot needed. Third off, this contract expires when Edler is 35. So, by that time, there will be a lot of room to discuss even further what Edler's next contract is going to be, assuming he doesn't retire, which is very much a realistic option at 35 years old. So, I believe this is absolutely the perfect deal. It doesn't really matter what the cap hit is. It's $6 million over 2 years. That's not a lot. And if I had to give my props, it's going out to Jim Benning and Alex Edler. For both of them, because they both agreed for a really good compromise here, and I'm just so happy that this was able to get done. But overall, that's what I think about this contract extension. Hope you enjoyed this video. Social 9, and bye.